Renewal Budget Committee meeting to order. If I could have roll call, please.
Vincent Palomo,
Here.
Ralph Branson, Denise Carey,
Here.
Teresa Davis,
Here.
Brent Dodrell,
Here.
Sean Drinkwine,
Here.
Katie Dunsmuir,
Here.
Justin Gates, Charity Hughes,
Here.
Nick Ingram,
Here.
Joel Lidkey,
Here.
Suzanne Sager,
Here.
Paul Strobel,
Here.
Jerry Tenbush.
Here. Okay, we thank you all for making time to come for this budget cycle. We always love this time of year. We are at that point where we're going to select our chair. So if anybody's got somebody in mind, please.
I nominate Brent Dodrell for chair. I second.
Okay, I have a first and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, Brent, you are the man. Here you go.
All right. So the next thing on the agenda is the approval of last year's budget committee minutes for the Urban Renewal Agency. Hopefully you had a chance to look at them. Can somebody make a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Sound like Charity.
Yes. Second.
Okay. All right. All in favor of approving the budget committee meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, that carries. Moving ahead. Presentation of the budget message. Ms. Wagner.
All right. I've sat at this table before, but not in this seat. So just wanted to thank everybody for being here. This is, it's a requirement to have these budget committee meetings. But it's a great opportunity to provide more transparency and get more people involved and just have some more oversight. The city council and in this case, the Urban Renewal Board does a great job of setting goals and prioritizing projects and giving staff direction on the upcoming year. So that gives us a lot of confidence in the direction we're going, but I'll just share briefly the budget message that was in the proposed budget packet. And there's the introduction, just in case anybody is not familiar with how Urban Renewal receives its revenue. It receives taxes that are they're based on the increase in the assessed values of the properties within the Urban Renewal District. So when the district starts out, whatever the assessed value of that area is the base. And then each year as that grows, then the growth is what's called the tax increment financing. And that's what the Urban Renewal Agency receives. And the better job that an Urban Renewal Agency can do at improving the district, whether it's through infrastructure improvements that were needed, that doesn't increase the tax base, but it might attract more business and attract more property owners to make improvements to their properties. And then also through the public and private partnerships of improving the actual properties, that can increase the tax increment significantly, which is what really makes a difference and allows the district and the agency to do the plans that were outlined at the inception of the district. So that's kind of just a brief overview of where the financing comes from for this program. It's limited time duration, and ours is coming quickly to the end. The fiscal year 25-26 will be the last year that the Urban Renewal District is receiving these funds. And then anything that's collected after that can only pay off the debt. We can't do any new projects after that. So just to give you a few of the highlights on the budget. I already kind of talked a little bit about that, the redevelopment of existing buildings or building new buildings and new properties increases the assessed value. So we have a financial plan that was developed in 2018, 2019. It's our 2019 financial plan, and we use that to develop the budget. There is an amount it's called maximum indebtedness. It's kind of a weird term. It took me like 10 years to learn all of how urban renewal works, but they call it maximum indebtedness. That's the maximum amount of projects that can be done with the tax increment. If we, for instance, do a project, if like, for instance, the Yo Treats building, we couldn't get a private developer to do that. So we purchase the property, redevelop that, and then sell it. The money that we get from selling that is called program income, and that doesn't count against the against our maximum indebtedness. But we have a $6.6 million limit that was set in the plan, and as of the end of 2021, we had spent about 3.2 million. Well, this year spend an additional 265,000 approximately, and then in this new budget that you're hopefully will approve tonight, that's proposed, there will be $2.4 million that will be spent that counts toward the maximum indebtedness. So we'll have over $600,000 left, but we're really winding down, and we've done some really great projects that the board has partnered with public-private partnerships and also with infrastructure. So this budget reflects a rental income and loan payments that are going to be received from the property owners of the, I'll call it the Yo Treats building. I think we have done that in the past for part of the year if they are paying that rent. And then also if we do sell that, which we're working on doing in the process of hoping to get that transferred back into private ownership, that's also reflected in the income. We also have, as far as spending, 149,000 budgeted for a riverfront project to complete the engineering. And just to speak to that a little bit, I was mistaken last year. I thought we were getting to 100% engineering last year. We were not. We were only getting to 60%. So we are potentially getting a grant to help fund the rest of that engineering, getting all the way to 100% construction drawings. And if we'll know probably in the next month if we're going to get that grant. And if so, we can spend this other $149,000 on the riverfront project, which is the water access. We have $5,000 for costs related to, in case we do get to sell 401 Southeast Main, there might be some added costs. So we've tried to plan ahead for things that might come up. The large grant programs and small grant programs is a total of 120,000, and then miscellaneous administrative expenses, we budget high for that in case we have to get any legal advice or create a contract for, like we did when we did the financial plan. Just to kind of wrap this up, I did mention that the budget, you'll see in the budget that it reflects the sale of the Yo Treats building if we are able to do that. And we've been able to fund some really great projects. 20 years surprisingly goes by in a hurry. So we are coming to the end of that, and we're excited to be able to wrap it up strong, planning to do Main Street in this fiscal year, which is a little ahead of schedule for the financial plan that we had, but we believe that we can do it, and the Urban Renewal Board has given us that direction to go ahead and work towards that. So a few more projects, a few more public-private partnerships, and we'll wrap it up. But that is the budget message for this year.
All right. Do you want to walk us through the budget and point out anything at this
I can
point?
do that just real quickly because I'm not sure if everybody's familiar. We have it's called fund accounting. We have two funds. We have the first page is the tax increment fund. That's where we receive the taxes into, and we pay any debt service out of this fund. So you'll see in the resources, the property taxes that we are estimating we're going to get. If you look on the left side, it shows actual for year 2020 and 2021, and then it shows what we budgeted last year. And then on the right side, it shows what we're proposing for this year, which is at this point an estimate because we don't get certified taxes until the fall, but we have to do the budget in the spring. That prior year taxes, these are kind of general things, an estimated beginning fund balance. And then the Umpqua Bank principal and interest, that's the loan for the Broadway project. And then the city of Estacada principal and interest, that is a loan that we took when we were purchasing and revamping the 401 Southeast Main Yo Treats building. So that is budgeted high for the principal on that, with the thought that we'll sell the building and we'll pay off that loan. But that's what those are. Then we transfer. So this is where we receive and pay our debt. We have a decent contingency left of $150,000. The Umpqua reserve, that is for the final payment of our Broadway loan. And the Umpqua Bank requires us to keep that amount in the bank with them at very low interest. But it's a requirement. And so that's sitting there to make the last year payment for the Broadway. So then if you see the transfer, we're going to transfer out $750,000. And if you flip the page, that $750,000 drops into this operating fund. And this is where we do our projects. So we have some income. The $300,000 is if we sell the Yo Treats building. If we get a loan that we're applying for to do Main Street, that would be, our estimate is at 1.7 million. We have a little bit of rental income that I've budgeted for part of the year, hoping to sell the building, and a loan payment through one of our urban renewal loans. And then the transfer in, you see, so that and beginning fund balance, which I usually keep pretty low in this fund, just because if we transfer money into here, it has to count towards our maximum indebtedness. So I usually wait till we actually have something to put it towards. So that gives you your total resources, which is what has to balance with what we're going to spend. So we have the materials and services, which is, again, you can see on the left-hand side, we really only spend about a little over $4,000 a year typically, but we budget high just in case we needed to contract a consultant or get some legal services or something. And then our capital outlay, $20,000 for the small grant program, $100,000 for large grant, the Main Street Enhancement project, which I budgeted a little high due to experience of trying to squeak out projects that sometimes cost more than they were estimated to cost. So hopefully it's only going to be $2 million. That's the plan. But if for engineering during the project, there might be extra expenses or just the unknowns. So budgeted a little high on that. If we don't have to spend it, that will go into the ending fund balance and carry forward to the next year. And then riverfront improvements and a decent contingency of $174,000, which is money that we could move and use if needed. But we're hoping to leave it as a carry forward. So that you can see both funds have to balance their resources and their requirements, and both funds have to balance. So that's why in the budgeted amounts, it comes up to zero. In the actuals, you'll see that there's usually, it doesn't balance because we don't spend as much as we have available. So if there's any questions, I will try to answer them. And yes.
All right, go ahead, Katie.
Back in spring of last year, we approved a grant to the Ant Farm building, and I knew that they were trying to budget part of that for the 2020-2021 fiscal year and then carried over some of that into this fiscal year that we're in now. Now that we're looking at a budget for the following year, I was curious about the status of that reimbursement to that building or that grant, and whether or not that is money that might end up being put back into the program or not.
It was put back in actually this year because last year I anticipated them to at least get partway done with the project and they didn't. And so it's looking like they're going to finish fully in this fiscal year, which means technically I didn't budget enough because I thought we'd get halfway done in 2021, halfway done in 2022. But because of the way that, sorry, too close. Because of the way that the law goes with the budget, we didn't award, or the board didn't award other large property grants. And so there will be enough money in the current budget if they get done before June 30th to fund that. And they have made some modifications to their plans. And so we'll have to reevaluate that and make sure that what was being granted is actually what they did, or make adjustments. But we're hoping to have it finished. I'm hoping that them to have it finished by the end of June so that we can pay that in this fiscal year. Also, the commercial mixed use building up here on Main Street is wrapping up. They should have their they got the finals for the residential units, and in a couple of weeks, they should have the finals for the commercial space. And then they'll be requesting that reimbursement. So that's another great project that did get done in the right year. So, yeah.
Yeah, my question is, you mentioned it yourself on the Yo Treats building.
Mhm.
Now, I know originally we talked about selling that building and getting that money back into the coffers. You know, we're not in the place to hold notes on buildings. So
Mhm.
my question to you is, where are we at on that as far as the contract?
We are very close. The business owners, the Yo Treats business owners have the first right to purchase that and are very invested in that building. So that's our preference, is to sell to them, and they have the first right to make that happen. And they are very close now to being able to finish their loan process. And Matt had a setup where he had evaluated the building, determined what the sale price should be. And they're going through or what the organization is, but I don't know if it will wrap up this year. I kind of think we're getting so close to June 30th, it might fall into next year, which is why I thought we might get some rental funds still into the next year, the budget that you're going to approve. But I do believe they're very close.
Okay.
And they're very excited. We have had some repairs to do on that building. There was a leaky something. It was leaking through the roof, and we worked with the contractor who had done the project. And of course, it happened right after Matt left. But Matt had set us up good to know who to contact. And so that has taken a couple months, but I feel like we're in a good spot where we've been a good landlord. We have maintained the building and been able to solve that problem, so they won't have to deal with that after they purchase the building. And so I think we're close.
Good, thank you.
And that will go back in. That doesn't count again towards our maximum indebtedness. That'll go in as program income and can just be used in the grant projects or our Main Street.
Vincent, I think, has a question. Vincent, go ahead.
Yeah, could you just give a quick overview of what actually encompasses the Main Street Enhancement project? And it, out of curiosity, was extra money like budgeted for like increased costs of just like raw materials for like the building process, like the increased cost of lumber over the past couple of years? Like, are you worried about any of that type of stuff, or not so much?
I'm slightly worried about that, just because I've heard that the cost of asphalt is going high. We're planning to do it early next year, get the design process through this summer and engineering done by sometime in the fall. So we can go out to bid in November, December, which is the best time to go to bid, and then do the project early next year. So there is a potential that we have a very recent engineer's estimate, but there's a potential that could go awry because the economy is so unusual right now. But the plan was that to say, this is how much we have to spend, and then bring the design back to fit that amount of money. So right now, there's some information online. If anybody wants to go on, take a look at the design and fill out the survey. We're also doing outreach to the property owners that are right on Main Street here, so we make sure that they get input into the design. There's things that elements we can cut out, which I hope we don't have to, like pavers in the parking spaces, or the circles, like they're on Broadway, there's circles, and maybe people will want to cut those out. I don't know. We're still totally designing this, but we had decided that this was the amount we have to spend, and we'll make it fit, but it is a concern. Thanks for asking.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, if you just, if for a quick overview of the project, just because I'm not 100% sure on what is taking place.
Oh, yes. So it does not go, it goes from the bottom of the hill at 3rd Street to Jeremy Lovelace Lane. It does not encroach into the highway. So we won't be working with ODOT and doing anything with how the road connects to the highway. But the sidewalks that need to be repaired, replaced, that will be done. The street needs to have some, it tends to sink. There's a lot of clay down here. And so that will be rebuilt and repaved, some pedestrian amenities. It won't feel narrow like Broadway does, but it'll tighten it up just enough to hopefully slow traffic and make it more pedestrian friendly. We're hoping to add some what is that called? Angle in parking. And that would be in the block between 3rd and 4th. That would narrow that sidewalk to 8 feet instead of 10. The rest of the sidewalks would be the standard 10 feet. But if we do that angle in parking, it would provide more parking, but it would narrow the sidewalk slightly. But I don't really anticipate that to be a problem. There would be some easier pedestrian crossings, but we probably would take out those the little medians in the center of the road that I hear cause some people problems sometimes as they're making that corner. But also keeping it simple, making it easy for pedestrians to get across, be seen. There's a lot of people that come across, for instance, from 300 Main and need to have safety. So those are the kind of things we're looking at. It's not as much impact as the Broadway project, but hopefully make enough connections that it's going to look really nice and still be our through street basically, but more pedestrian friendly, more.
Vincent, did that provide the information needed?
Sorry, I could go on.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's
Okay.
great.
Paul, did you have something?
Yeah, thank you. The Umpwood Bank debt, that's for Broadway.
Yes,
When does that expect to be paid off?
that we were just figuring that out today. I think it's 27 because it goes past it was 15 years. So we did it it started in 2015. So I think maybe it's 29. It might be 29.
So if this wraps up in, what was it, 26?
Mhm.
How do you pay for the rest of it?
So we will still be able to collect the tax increment. However, it all has to go to debt. And I'm not sure if we only collect what our debt payments are, or if we can collect the full amount of the tax increment and put it all, pay these loans off early. So we'll have to check into that as we get a little closer, but that we can't do any new projects after that, it sunsets, but we can still continue to pay off these debts.
Thanks.
And so even the loan for Main Street will also continue even
Yes.
beyond that.
Yes.
Right.
But hopefully we'll be able to pay that off quickly.
Yeah. Joel?
I wanted to ask a couple questions back around the building here again. You said that the Yo Treats has first right of refusal. Do we have a sunset on that offer for first rights? Or if they don't answer by X date, we can put it on the market?
I believe there is, I don't know what that date is. I can't remember what it was, but we were trying to offer as much leniency since there was COVID and all that in the middle of it, when we anticipated selling it. But I'd have to look back at the contract and know when that sunset is.
Okay, and then the second part is, during that contractor agreement for first rights, did we have a set base price that they're selling it to? Is that why it's 300,000? Or is that the current assessed value on the property?
That I am not sure. It wasn't in I don't believe it was in the contract, but Matt has worked up, he did not a pro forma. He did an analysis that came up, and I could provide that. In fact, I should do that. That said I'm not sure why that is making so much noise, but isn't that mine? It feels like it's mine. Anyway, he went through a process and had I can't remember what the real estate term is, but he looked at that. So it is current, and that date went through, that had a sunset on it also. I think it's the end of June. So.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm. And then that would have to be reevaluated if they don't meet it by that, like the offer was good through a certain amount of time.
Well, actually, let me clarify if I could, please. So you're saying that Matt did an evaluation and that's the value he came up with, 300,000 on that one?
Yes.
I'm only asking because a comparable the property next door is like 1.2, properties across the street are up in the 4s. So that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I can't answer that question more clearly. I just know that was the offer that was put out, and Matt was pretty thorough in his evaluation. So it does, yeah.
Okay, so that's the offer that was put out when the contract was signed, but
No, that was put out just in December.
Okay.
It was just in December.
thank you.
All right. Jerry, did I see a hand or?
No, I was checking to see if it was my mic that
Okay.
was the problem.
Any other discussion, any other questions from the committee? All right, are there any questions or comments from citizens? Yeah, if you are one of the citizens listening and would like to make a comment, raise your hand and we can unmute you so we can talk. Not seeing any. All right. Thank you, Melanie, for the presentation and answering the questions. At this point, we're going to entertain a motion. If somebody would like to make a motion to approve the Estacada Urban Renewal Agency budget as it's been proposed.
So moved.
I'll second. Oh, no, she can just,
Yeah.
she can use it. Yeah.
So we had a motion from Paul.
I'll second.
Joel, thank you, Joel. And a second from who?
Me.
Suzanne, okay. Great.
So Brent, what we're moving to do is assess maximum taxes as allowed, okay? Perfect.
And approve the budget as
Mhm.
presented.
Yeah.
Yep.
So again,
Do
you're,
I need to craft a motion?
No, you-
no,
she
you're
got it.
moving to approve the budget as it was presented, as has been proposed. Okay. All right, any other questions or comments before we vote? All right, we'll do a roll call vote.
I'm just gonna say last names. Palomo,
Here, aye.
Branson, sorry. Carrie,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Dodrell,
Yes.
Drinkwine,
Yes.
Dunsmere,
Yes.
Hughes. Yes. Ingram,
Yes.
Lidkey,
Yes.
Sager,
Yes.
Strobel,
Yes.
Tenbush.
Yes. All right, so it does pass. Thank you all for your input. We don't need another meeting, so we will adjourn this meeting and take about a